Hey there, welcome to NZ Money Karma, where you can find freedom from the daily grind through simple living, budgeting, and adventure. So great to have you guys here today. Here in New Zealand, it's budget day. So I think there'll be many people hanging out waiting to hear what's going to be happening today. Not so much me, and I'll go into reasons for that in a wee bit. But as per my new intention, I'm going to start off by sharing a couple of things that I'm grateful for. So today I've been really grateful for helpful neighbours. I've been working on a project. I'm trying to make briquettes, paper briquettes out of old newspaper that can be used to start the fire. And I've been trying to come up with a way to do this without having to go and buy a briquette maker from Mitre 10. And I have a neighbour who's very handy, and he's been over to help me with a problem that I was having with my idea. So that's been very, very cool. So I'm very grateful for his help today. I've been really grateful for my kids this morning. Of course, all of us with children are grateful for our children always. But in the course of a day or in the course of a week, there are times when things flow easily and times when things don't flow quite so easily. This morning, it's been a beautiful flow in our house. We've sat, we've knitted, we've had great discussions about current events. They've helped with a lot of the things around the house that might normally fall to me, so I'm feeling very grateful this morning for them and their help. And finally, I'm really grateful because I've been selling some budget binders on Trade Me, and I'm really grateful that people are enjoying the content and kind of wanting to get into cash stuffing, and also that they choose to shop with me. So thank you. I am from, I guess, what would be termed the helping professions is my professional background. So selling stuff feels, I don't know, it kind of felt a little bit funny at the beginning. I wasn't quite sure if I was, kind of really going to enjoy it or if it was really for me. But given that my budget binders were the only new thing I bought in 2022, I thought, crikey, if I'm buying them, then, the threshold for me to buy something is actually extremely high. So I did want to share them, and I'm really grateful that there are some people out there who are enjoying them as well. So it's budget day in New Zealand today, and many people will be, I guess, hanging out to hear what that means for them. For me, I don't really do that because I don't believe that a government can change the trajectory of my life. I do believe that's my responsibility. One of the fundamental parts, I think, of us being able to make all these choices for ourselves and have the confidence to do so is, first and foremost, I think budgeting 101 is the emergency fund. So I have read that 50% of New Zealand households are not able to get their hands on $5,000 within a week. So that's the threshold the government or Stats New Zealand give for who has an emergency fund. Can you obtain $5,000 within a week? I'm pretty sure they don't mean that you can go and put $5,000 on a credit card or borrow it from family. Do you have $5,000 that you can readily access? 50% of New Zealand households cannot access $5,000. That is so worrying. So number one, I think you must have an emergency fund of all your financial safety nets, cash stuffing, whatever. Emergency fund has got to be prioritised. If you are taking financial advice from people who do not have a robust emergency fund, the recommended amount is 3 to 6 months of living expenses. So whatever that might be for you or them. If you're taking advice from people who are not prioritising the emergency fund, I would strongly recommend that you get new financial advisors. An emergency fund keeps you out of debt. An emergency fund gives you the confidence to live life on your terms. Without an emergency fund, you can't weather the storms that will inevitably come our way. Everybody's way, not just you, me as well, everybody. How we do it in our family is we actually have an emergency fund that's set up to cover a year's worth of living expenses. Now that's more than what is recommended. I guess they recommend maximum about 6 months worth of cash available to you. So the reason we do a year is because we wanted to get rid of our life insurance. We've worked hard over the last several years to get into a financial position where we felt comfortable to take long periods of time off work and travel, or work small amounts. So for example, in 2022, collectively we worked the equivalent of 14 hours a week. But without an emergency fund, and a robust emergency fund, I wouldn't feel confident to do that, because I would feel too nervous that if something went wrong, we don't have the financial means to weather that. By getting rid of our life insurance, which is the plan, again, it's just we have a high degree of self-responsibility. We're happy to take on the risk that might give if one of us were to die prematurely. I thought really a year would be enough for us to get our head back in the game and figure out a new way forward. So that's what we do for an emergency fund. I hope you have an emergency fund, or if you don't, that you're prioritising it and working towards it. One of the things I thought I would just quickly do though is look at an emergency budget as well, because an emergency fund is for the big unexpected things that happen. But if you're anything like me, you don't really want to dip into your emergency fund when you don't have to. So one way to avoid that is by having an emergency budget and just going, okay, should the proverbial hit the fan, what are our priorities? What can I not live without? What must I pay? And then what are the nice to have? So these are all the titles of my budget envelopes in here. And over on this page here is what I have in the bank account. So I have several accounts kind of under the one umbrella. So I have a rates, bills, kids, travel, subdivision, investment, and braces. And then money goes into those each week, or ad hoc as I have it. So for me, the priorities, I'm just going to start on this page here. Rates, that has to be paid. If I don't pay that, I'm going to be in trouble with the local council, and I'm going to end up having to pay more money. Bills, I'm going to keep the electricity on, I'm going to buy gas, I'm going to bring in wood each year, and I'm going to pay for my house insurance because I can't afford not to do those things. Investment, normally each week we're putting in 50 for our kids and 50 for us. I'm not going to stop my investment unless it was a dire emergency. If I can possibly keep that going, then I will. But I'm going to prioritise my husband and myself over the children, because the children are young and they can manage their own retirement in the future if they had to. So this is a nice to have. This is something we like to do and something we want to do, but they'll be fine if we don't do that. And the braces account would just stay stagnant. I would buy groceries, and I would still give myself $5 miscellaneous, because just Murphy's Law, something always comes up. I would be putting money into the house maintenance account, into the animals, and into medical dental, because I don't want our health to suffer, or that of our animals. Braces, tech, date night would give a miss. Bikes, we'd still put something in there. Road trip and gifts would probably go by the wayside. So if you give me a second, I'll add that up and I'll tell you what my emergency budget is if I had to work on that. So I'm back again. I've added those all up, and that came to $256. And then I thought, actually, that's really a low amount. I'm sure even in an emergency, I would have more than 250. And the thing that I didn't circle that I really should have was over here, kids, which is an extra $25. And that would mean that they could do a couple of activities each. They might not do everything that they currently do, but they could do martial arts, music lessons, and sports. That would be all right, I think, if it was an emergency. So let's add that on. So that's 256 plus 25. So 281. So that's it. So that's my emergency budget. $281 in a pinch. That's what our family could survive on. We would have a warm, dry home. We'd pay all our bills. My husband and I would put away $50 a week still for investing. Our health wouldn't suffer. We'd be able to maintain some basic home maintenance. The kids would be able to do a couple of activities, and we'd eat. I think that's doing pretty well on a small amount of money. So is it a long-term solution to a financial hiccup? No. Does it provide us enough wriggle room that if something happened, we can contract our spending to give ourselves a bit of breathing room without having to dive into our emergency fund? Absolutely. I would suggest, if you don't have an emergency fund, maybe look to create the emergency budget first and live on that, so you can start diverting the extra funds towards the emergency fund. Okay, so let's get on with budget. I have actually already been out this morning to the supermarket. It's the middle of the day now. I normally do these a little bit earlier, but I've been and done that job. It's looking pretty grotty out there, and I wanted to get out before it rained. So I've put my $50 in there, a tiny amount of change left over, and I've got now 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 110, 120, 30, 40, 50, 55, 60, 65, 70, 75, 80. So I took out 230. Now the reason I did that was because with my children's activity, I was stuffing $10 in there for one of those activities. Now I'm not. Now I'm just paying it online. So that's decreased my weekly cash from 240 to 230. Oh, on with the show. So groceries. It's definitely getting tighter at the supermarket. I'm having to really think hard when I'm there, trying to get everything sorted. So I thought there was another coin in there. There's 50 cents. Is there or no? Oh, there is. I knew it. There you go. So I've got 70 cents. I'm going to put an extra $20 in there, and that's for our bulk groceries. Fun. I've got $55 in here, and I'm going to put in 10 this week. I think if you're working on an emergency budget as well, I've had this $50 in here for goodness knows how long, quite a while. But we have heaps of fun because we do things that just don't cost much money or nothing at all. So I think if you're working on an emergency budget, don't think my life is going to be miserable. It's just your life is going to be different, and you're going to look to do different things. And all of a sudden, cash isn't going to be the way you solve your problem. So if everyone's bored or everyone feels like getting out and about and doing something, the solution isn't now going to be going somewhere and spending money. The solution is going to be going out and finding a walk to do or making something, that kind of thing. So there's 65 into fun. If that gets to 100, then I'll probably just stop stuffing in there and leave it be. Me, I've got $30 and I'm going to have another 10, so I'll take a 20 for that. It was Mother's Day in the weekend, so I had a lovely treat on Sunday where my family took me out and we had a picnic in a huge park that exists where I live, and we had hot chip butties, which is one of my favourite things to do. Hot chip butties, tomato sauce, eating outside on a picnic blanket makes me extremely happy. So I felt very lucky to have that. Other thing, while I'm talking about Mother's Day, we don't normally do gifts in our family, but the kids wanted to have me go out and have a nice treat by myself. So they gave me some money to go and get a coffee and a cake somewhere. So I thought that was really sweet. I'm going to just pop that there. Actually, I should put it in my envelope, shouldn't I? While I'm thinking about it. Of course, on Mother's Day, I don't want to go out and do that by myself because the whole point of celebrating is that I'm their mother, so I wanted to spend it with them. So that's my husband. He's going to get $10. He's got nothing left because he bought the chip buddies. And pocket money for the kids. You know the drill there, $5 each. And then kids, so this is for weekly activities. I have got $5 left over, which I'm going to pop in there. It's my change, and I need to do $25. Let's take it 2 10s and a 5. I was going to stuff $5 in here, but to be honest, I know it's going to be spent on food, so I'm actually just going to whiz back here and put it in the Kai section. There was $1 left over there, and that's because I've spent my $49.30, but I still need to go to the bin and get some chickpeas and some dishwashing liquid, so that's what that's going to be used for. That's that binder done. So what have I got left? 50, 70, 80, 90. Giving. So I've got $70 in there. And I'm going to pop another 5 in there. 75. House is 10. Now, I was going to actually go out and use this money and buy a little machine to make briquettes, like paper briquettes. And then I thought, no, don't do that. See if you can make something. So I'm trying really hard to make something, like I said, with the help of my neighbour. Fingers crossed it works. Otherwise, I'll be going and spending some money to go and make these briquettes because I think they'll be really useful. It's a good old-fashioned kind of skill to have, and it'll be a bit of fun, give us something to do over the winter, kind of aiming for using them over the summer, maybe in outside fires and into next winter, depending on how many we make. I'm not sure. It'd be good to, our wood costs over $1,500 this year, so it'd be good to do something to help with that. So house is going to get $10 today. So I'll swap that out and put in 20. So I've got 70 now. Animals is going to get 10. 100, 10, 20, 130. Medical dental is going to get 15. It's got 120. Now it's got 135. Braces is going to get 25. That's not going to work, so give me a second and I shall make some change. Just like that, $50 and change. So braces is going to get 25. I got paid again for some more work that I did. It was only $100 by the time tax and ACC and what have you was put aside. But $100 is $100. So now I've got $3,600 in the bank. And here I've got 50, 100, 150, 200, 220, 240, 245. Check is going to get $5. So I've got 55, 60. Gosh, I feel like I'm going to have to make more change. I don't know that this is going to work either. Date night. Date night I was planning to give 10. Sorry about this. Give me a second. Thanks for your patience. Okay, so date night is going to get 10. So I've got 55, now I've got 65. Bikes I'm going to give 5 to. I've got 105, so I'll swap that out. Now I've got 110. Road trip, like I said last week, I am not stuffing this. This is going to be my extra money. Gives me a bit of motivation for being more savvy with the budget, and hopefully I can fill it up a little bit faster. So we'll give that one a miss just for now. Gifts, I'm going to put 5 into gifts as well. So I've got 25 and now 30. So if I go back to road trip, I don't think this got a count up last week. So 50, 100, 120, 140, 160. And I'm going to stuff my change. So I've got 5, 6, 7, and 50 cents left over. So I'll only stuff it when it gets to a full $1 and hopefully be able to change out the change quickly. So now I've got 50, 100, 165, 167. So thanks for joining me. I appreciate your time that you've spent to watch this video, and I hope there's something in it for you. Have a great week. Bye.